The Third Testament, Chapter 30, The Development of the Ruach, Spirit, through Reincarnations. The Law of Evolution. I say to you that it is necessary for humanity to know that its Ruach, Spirit, has come many times to earth, and that still they have not been able to arise along the pathway of my law in order to reach the summit of the mountain. Why, if humanity has seen the development of science and the discovery of things they would not have believed earlier, does it resist the natural evolution of the Ruach, Spirit? Why are they obstinate in what makes them remain stationary and lethargic? Why have they not wished to glimpse eternal life? Understand that although creation appears to have been completed, all things continue to evolve, transform, and become more perfect. Could your Ruach, Spirit, escape that divine law? No, my children. No one can say the last word about the spiritual, about science, or about life, for they are works of mine which have no ending. How many men, based on the knowledge they have achieved, believed themselves to have greatness of Ruach, but to me are like some children standing still on the road to their evolution. They should realize that it is not only through the development of the mind that the elevation of the Ruach is achieved, but through the all-around development of their being. And there are many gifts needed to evolve in order to achieve completeness. That is why I instituted the reincarnation of the Ruach as one of my laws of love and justice, in order to provide it with a longer road that would give it the opportunities necessary to achieve its perfection. Each existence is only a brief lesson, since otherwise the opportunity for a man to include in it the fulfillment of all my law would be very short. However, it is necessary that you understand the meaning of this life in order to take from it its essence and to achieve its harmony, which is the basis of human perfection. Then you will be able to pass to a higher plane till you arrive to the spiritual life. There I have kept many lessons that I must teach you, and many revelations that I must still make to you. Why is it that while all things grow unceasingly, transform, develop, and become more perfect, your Ruach alone remains stagnant throughout the centuries? Since you have discovered and learned much through the sciences, you do not ignore the incessant evolution that exists in all the beings of creation. I wish you to understand that you must not leave your Ruach abandoned to that backwardness and in the stagnation into which you have kept it for so long, and that you must struggle to achieve harmony with all that surrounds you, so that the day might come when nature, instead of hiding its secrets, reveals them, and the elements, instead of being hostile, become your servants, collaborators, and brothers. The, quote, resurrection of the flesh, end quote, properly understood. Now the world will know the truth about the resurrection of the flesh, which is the reincarnation of the Ruach. Reincarnate to return to the material world to be born again as a man. The emergence of the Ruach in a human body for the continuation of a mission. That is the truth about the resurrection of the flesh, of which your elders have spoken, giving it interpretations that were as twisted as they were absurd. Reincarnation is a gift that Yah has conceded to your Ruach spirit, so that it is never limited by the smallness of the material form, by its ephemeral existence on the earth, or by its natural weaknesses, but rather because the Ruach proceeds from a superior nature. It may use as many material forms as are necessary for carrying out its great missions in the world. Through this gift, the Ruach demonstrates its immense superiority over the flesh, over death, and over all that is earthly, defeating death, surviving from one body to another, to as many as may be entrusted to it, the conqueror of time, obstacles, and temptations. How could you ever believe that on the day of judgment the bodies of the dead will be resurrected and be united to their Ruach oath spirits in order to enter the kingdom of God? Yah, how can you interpret in that manner what you were taught in former times? The flesh is of this world, and here it remains, while the Ruach arises free and returns to the existence from where it emerged. That which is born of the flesh is flesh. That which is born of my Ruach spirit is Ruach spirit. The resurrection of the flesh is the reincarnation of the Ruach. And if some believe that to be a human theory, and others believe it to be a new revelation, verily I say to you that I began to make it known to the world since the beginning of mankind. Proof of it you can find in the texts of the scriptures, which are a testimony of my works. However, during this era, the revelation has reached your Ruach in a greater level of evolution. Soon it will be justly regarded as one of the most rightful and loving laws of the Creator. Disregard the belief that you had about the day of judgment, which is not a day like yours, because it is a period, and the end of the world is not the end of the planet where you live, but of the egotistical life you have created on it. The mystery of the resurrection of the flesh has been clarified by the revelation of the reincarnation of the Ruach. Today you realize that the goal of this law of love and justice is for the perfection of the Ruach, so that it will never be lost, because it will always find an open door as an opportunity which the Father offers for its salvation. My judgment for every Ruach, by reason of this law, is perfect and inexorable. Only I know how to judge you, for each destiny is incomprehensible to men. Thus no one is censured or exposed before the others. And after losing themselves in sin from so many struggles and vicissitudes and much wandering, the Ruach oath spirits will come before me, filled with wisdom through their experience, purified by pain, elevated by their merits, weary from their long pilgrimage, but simple and joyful as children. The differentiated state of the development of the Ruach oath, spirits. It has been a long while since your Ruach emanated from me. Nevertheless, not everyone has progressed in the same way along the spiritual path. All destinies are different, although they lead you toward the same goal. To some are reserved some ordeals, and to others different ones. One child travels one path, and another will follow a different course. Neither have all of you emerged to this existence at the same instant, nor will you return at the same moment. Some travel ahead and others behind, but the goal awaits everyone. No one knows who is near, nor who is distant, because you are still small to have this knowledge. You are human, and your vanity would lead you astray. At all times, even the remotest of human history, you have had examples of men of elevated Ruach. How do you explain to yourselves the fact that there have been men with evolved Ruach oath spirits since the earliest times, if before they had not passed through successive reincarnations that helped them to elevate themselves? It is because the Ruach is not born at the same time as the shell, nor did the beginning of humanity coincide with that of the Ruach. Truly, I tell you, not a single Ruach has ever come to this world without having existed first in the beyond. And who among you can measure or know the time that he has lived in other mansions before coming to dwell on the earth? The knowledge of previous earthly lives and of your own development. While the Ruach is united with the material body, it is unaware of the merits it has achieved in past lives. However, it does know that it possesses eternal life and that it will continually evolve in pursuit of summit, but is presently unaware of what level it has reached. Your mind does not receive the past impressions or memories of your Ruach because the material is like a thick veil that does not permit entry into the Ruach's life. What mind could receive the images and impressions that the Ruach has gathered in the trajectory of its past? What intelligence could coordinate with human ideas that which is incomprehensible? For all these reasons, until now, I have not permitted you to know who you are spiritually, nor what your past has been. All my works have been written by me in a book entitled Life. The number of pages is uncountable. Its wisdom is infinite. And other than by Yah, who is the author, it may not be obtained by anyone. But there, on every page, is written a limited summary in which Abba Father has delineated every one of his works in order to place it within reach of every understanding. You, too, are writing the book of your life, in which are written all of your works and each one of your steps on the long road of evolution. That book will be written in your conscience, and it will be the light of knowledge and experience with which tomorrow you will illuminate the paths of your younger brothers. You cannot yet present your book to anyone, because even you do not know its contents, but soon there will be light in your being, and you will be able to show your brothers the pages that tell of your development your restitution and your experiences. You will then be an open book for humanity. Blessed are those who take possession of their mission. They will feel themselves ascending the ladder that Jacob, saw in his dreams, which is the spiritual road that leads beings to the presence of the Creator. Love as a requirement for spiritual development. Just as your body requires air, the sun, water, and bread to live, so too the Ruach needs the environment, the light, and the sustenance of its own being. When it is deprived of the freedom to elevate itself in search of nourishment, it weakens, withers, and grows dull like a child made to stay always in its crib and enclosed in its bedroom. Its limbs stiffen, it grows pale, its senses weaken, and its faculties atrophy. See how the Ruach can also become paralytic? What if I told you that the world is full of the paralyzed, the blind, the deaf, and ill in Ruach? The Ruach that lives closed off without the freedom to develop itself is a being that does not grow, not in wisdom, nor in strength and virtue. Truly I tell you, that which can elevate you is love, for in it exists wisdom, sentiment, and elevation. Love is a compendium of all the attributes of the divinity, and Elohim has lit that flame in every spiritual creature. How many lessons have I given so that you would learn to love? How many opportunities, lives, and reincarnations the divine mercy has provided? The lesson has been repeated as many times as necessary until it is learned. Once it is obeyed, there is no need to repeat the lesson, for it cannot be forgotten. If you learn my lessons quickly, you will no longer have to suffer nor weep for your errors. A being that takes advantage of the lessons received on earth may return to the world, but each time with more advancement and in better conditions. Between one life and another, there is always a respite, which is necessary to meditate and rest before beginning the new task. Various reasons for the reincarnations. Truly I tell you that in no epoch of human life has man lacked knowledge of my law, for he has never lacked a glimmer in his spirit, Ruach, an intuition in his mind, or a presentiment in his heart from the divine spark, which is his conscience. Nonetheless, your Ruach has turned toward the beyond, wearing a blindfold of darkness, and I tell you that he who does not make use of the lessons contained in this life of this world, this veil of trials, shall have to return to it to finish his restitution, and above all, to learn. In other worlds, the Ruach oath spirits also enjoy free will, and they sin and lose the way, or persevere in the good, and therefore manage to ascend, just as you do on the earth. But at the indicated moment, those destined to come to this world descend to it either to fulfill a noble mission or to atone in restitution. According to their desire to see this earth, it will seem to some a paradise, and to others a Sheol, hell. That is why, when they understand the mercy of Abba Father, they see only a marvelous life sowed with blessings and teachings for the Ruach, a road that brings them closer to the promised land. Some leave this world desiring to return. Others do so with the fear of having to. This is because your being has not yet learned to understand the harmony in which you must live with Elohim. Let no one rebel at the idea of having to return to this planet in another body, nor think that reincarnation is a punishment for the Ruach. All Ruach oath, destined to live on the earth, have had to pass through the law of reincarnation in order to achieve their evolution and carry out the mission I have entrusted to them. It is not only the Ruach oath of little elevation that must reincarnate again. The elevated Ruach oath to return time and time again until their work is finished. UTEriKiYah is the greatest of the prophets that have come to the earth, and in spite of the great works he did and the great trials that he experienced, he had to return to this world in another time, in another material form, and with another name. This law of love and justice was unknown by humanity for a long time, for if they had known it before, they might have fallen into confusion. Still, Abba Father made some revelations to you and gave you some signs that were the foregoing light of this time, which is the era of the solution of all the mysteries. The road to perfection. Long is the road by which you shall come to the fullness of light. No being has a longer road than that of the Ruach, which Abba Father, the divine sculptor, who shapes and polishes your Ruach, gives perfect form. Truly I tell you that to come to complete cleanliness, your Ruach must yet purify itself much in this world and in the spiritual valley. You will return to this planet as many times as necessary, and the more you fail to make use of the opportunities your Abba Father gives you, the longer will be postponed your definitive entry into the true life, and the longer your stay in the vale of tears. In each earthly existence, every Ruach must show its advancement and the fruits of its evolution, making a firm step forward each time. Keep in mind that the only good that rebounds to your own benefit is that which is done out of true love and charity for others, and which is done disinterestedly. In man there are two forces which are always in struggle: his human nature, which is temporary, and his spiritual nature, which is eternal. That eternal being is well aware that very long periods of time will pass for him to be able to reach his spiritual perfection. He anticipates that he will have many existences, and that in them he will go through many ordeals before gaining his true happiness. The spirit Ruach foresees that after his tears, pain, and passing many times through bodily death, he will reach the summit which he has always sought in his longing for perfection. On the other hand, the flesh, that weak and small being, weeps, rebels, and sometimes refuses to follow the dictates of the Ruach spirit, and only when the latter has evolved, is strong, and experienced in the struggle with the flesh and its surroundings? Is it able to dominate the flesh and manifest itself through it? Long is the pilgrimage of the Ruach, extensive his path, many and quite variable his existences, and his ordeals different at every moment. But while he complies with them, he elevates, purifies, and perfects himself. In his passage through life, he is leaving a trace of light. That is why many times the whims of the flesh are of no concern to the Ruach, for he knows that they are temporary and that he cannot detain his journey by incidents which he regards as insignificant. Momentarily he fixes his attention on the weaknesses of his body, but he knows that he cannot love very much something that is short-lived and which soon disappears into the bowels of the earth. The universal school of life. Since the beginning of humanity, reincarnation of the Ruach has existed as a law of love and justice, and is one of the forms in which Abba Father has demonstrated his infinite clemency. Reincarnation is not only of this time, but of all times. But do not think that this mystery has not been revealed before now. From the first times, an intuition has existed in man about the reincarnation of the Ruach. Yet this humanity, seeking material sciences and the riches of the world, has allowed itself to be dominated by the passions of the flesh, hardening those senses with which the spiritual is perceived, making itself blind and deaf to that which corresponds to the Ruach spirit. Before your creation, you were in me. Later, as a spiritual creature, from a place where all vibrates in perfect harmony, where the essence of life and the source of the true light are found, I come to give you sustenance. Pain was not created by Abba Father. In the times of which I speak, you had no reason to whimper and had nothing to lament. You felt the glory in yourselves, for in your perfect life, you were the symbol of that existence. But when you left that dwelling, I gave vestment to this Ruach, and you descended further and further. Since then, your Ruach has been evolving little by little until arriving to the plane it now occupies, where the light of Abba Father shines. The final destination of every Ruach is to unite with Yah after it becomes purified and attains perfection. That is why I fill your path with enlightenment and give strength to your Ruach, so that you may ascend step by step. The mansion that you will inhabit in the spiritual valley will be determined by your level of spiritual elevation when you depart from earth, because the universe was created as a school of perfection for the Ruach. If I had given you all in this life, you would not now be wishing to ascend another step. But what you have not achieved in one existence, you seek in another. And what you do not reach in that is promised to you in a higher one. And so it goes on infinitely on the endless road of the Ruach oath, spirits. When you hear my word, it seems impossible that your Ruach might be capable of reaching such perfection. And I tell you that today you doubt the high density of the Ruach because you only look at what you can see with your material eyes, smallness, ignorance, and evil. Yet that is because the Ruach of some is ill, while in others it is paralyzed. There are some who are blind, yet others who are spiritually dead. Before such spiritual misery, you must doubt the destiny that eternity has reserved for you. Thus you live in this time of materialism and love for the world, yet the light of my truth has come to you to dissipate the darkness of the night of a time that has already passed, announcing by the light of its dawn the arrival of a new era in which the Ruach will receive the illumination of my teaching. Many of you already will not have another opportunity to come to earth to repair your faults. You will not possess that instrument that you have today, which is the body that bears you and on which you depend. It is necessary that you understand that coming to the world is a privilege for the Ruach, never a punishment, and therefore you must make use of this grace. After this life, you will go to other worlds to receive new lessons and there find new opportunities to continue ascending the ladder and perfecting yourselves. If you have completed your obligations as men, you will leave this world with satisfaction for a mission completed, bearing tranquility in your Ruach. My voice is calling to the great multitudes because many Ruachoth spirits are coming to the end of their long pilgrimage on earth. That dejection, that weariness, and that sadness that they bear in their hearts are the evidence that they yearn for a higher dwelling, a better world. Yet it is necessary that in the last phase of their lives on earth, they live in obedience to the dictates of their consciences, so that the track left by their last steps on earth be a blessing for the generations that later come to perform their various missions in the world. This world is not eternal, nor is there any need for it to be. When this dwelling ceases to have the reason it has now to exist, it will disappear. When your Ruach no longer needs the lessons that this life gives, because other more elevated lessons await it in another world, then will the light acquired in this struggle, it will say, "How clearly I understand now that all the vicissitudes of this life were only experiences and lessons that I needed in order to understand better. How long this journey appeared to me in the moments when suffering drained my strength. But now, in contrast, when all is in the past, how brief and fleeting it appears before eternity. Be glad, humanity. Think of yourselves as migrant birds that pass through this world full of tears, poverty, and suffering. Be glad that it is not your eternal dwelling place. Better worlds await you. Thus, when you say farewell to this earth, you will do so without bitterness, and here will remain the cries of pain, the work, and the tears. You will say goodbye to this world and rise up to those higher worlds that await you. From there you will see the earth as a point in space that you remember with love. The power of conviction of the doctrine of reincarnation. Spiritual enlightenment is revealing to the world the truth, the justice, the reason, and the love that exists in the spiritual gift of reincarnation. Nevertheless, in the beginning, the world will fiercely battle this revelation, labeling it as a strange and false doctrine in order to make men of good faith distrust it. The efforts of the religions to maintain their faithful in the routine of old beliefs and methods beyond their time shall be useless and vain, for none can stop the divine light that penetrates to the depths of understanding, awakening the Ruach to an era of revelations, of divine confidences, of clarification of doubts and mysteries, and of spiritual liberation. Nor shall any be able to hold back the torrent that forms when humanity rises in search of its liberty of thought, of the Ruach, and of Amunah, faith. Stages in the reincarnation of a Ruach, spirit. I am calling all travelers to listen to my voice, which invites them to ascend spiritually and to possess eternal life. In this day in which the divine word makes itself heard, learn from this word and enlighten yourselves with it, for in wisdom is the light and your salvation. If my law teaches you morality, righteousness, and order in all acts of your life, why do you seek adverse paths which bring you pain? And when you depart to the hereafter, leaving your body in the earth, you weep because you have loved that physical body so much. When you feel that the material body no longer belongs to you and that you must follow the road until you reach me, I have asked you, my child, what gift do I bring? What gift do you bring me? Have you lived on the earth obeying my mandates? And you are ashamed and dejected because you do not bear a gift of love for the one who loves you so much and has granted you so much. You have created chains which crush your Ruach, and having lost its grace, your Ruach appears without light, weeping and grieving. It hears the voice of Abba, Father, who calls. But since it has not evolved, nor feels worthy of coming to him, it hesitates and waits. Time passes, and once again, the Ruach hears that voice. In the midst of its pain, it asks who speaks. And the voice says, awaken. Do you not know from where you have come, nor where you go? Then the Ruach raises its eyes and sees an immense light before its splendor. It sees itself insignificant. It recognizes that before being sent to the earth, it had existed and had been loved by Abba Father, which is from whom the voice came, and who now, upon seeing him in this painful situation, suffers for it. The Ruach knows that it has been sent to different worlds to journey over a difficult path and has to reach its reward through its merits. The child asks, if before being sent to earth I have been your beloved creature, why have I not remained virtuous? Why have I had to descend to suffer and work in order to return to you? The voice replies, all Ruach oath spirits have been submitted to the law of evolution, and on that road, the Ruach of the Father, Abba, always protects you and is pleased by the good deeds of his Son. Truly, I have sent you to earth in order that you might make of it a dwelling of struggle for spiritual perfection, not a valley of war and pain. I have told you to multiply and not be sterile, and when you return to the spiritual valley and do not bring any harvest, you only weep, arriving without the grace with which I have covered you. That is why I send you one more time and tell you, cleanse yourself, seek that which you have lost, and cultivate your elevation. The Ruach returns to earth and seeks a small and tender human body in order to rest in it and begin the new journey. It finds the small child designated to it and unites with that body in order to make restitution for its failings within my law. Knowing what it must do and aware that it belongs to Abba Father, the Ruach comes to the earth clearly aware of its mission. In its first years, it is innocent. It preserves its purity and remains in contact with the spiritual life. Then it begins to know sin. It looks closely at pride, arrogance, and at the rebelliousness of men before the just laws of Abba Father. And the flesh, which is stubborn by nature, begins to contaminate itself with evil. Having fallen into temptation, it forgets the mission which it brought to earth and arises performing deeds which are contrary to the law. The Ruach and material body eat the forbidden fruits, and when they have fallen into the abyss, the last hour surprises them. Once again, the Ruach finds itself in the spiritual valley, weary and burdened by the weight of its faults. Then it remembers the voice that spoke to it in another time, which still calls to it. And after much weeping, feeling lost, and not knowing who it is, it remembers that it has already been in that place. Then Abba Father, who has created it with so much love, appears on its path asking, "Who are you? From where do you come? And where do you go?" The Son recognizes in that voice the word of the one who has given it its existence, intelligence, and gifts, the voice of Abba Father, who always forgives, who purifies and removes the darkness and leads to the light. The child trembles because it knows it is before the judge and speaks, saying, "Abba, my disobedience and my debts to you are very great, and I cannot aspire to live in your home, for I have no merits." Today, when I returned to the spiritual valley, I see that I have only accumulated faults for which I must make restitution. But the loving Father, Abba, once more points out the way, and once again, the Ruach incarnates and forms a part of humanity. Now experienced and with greater strength, it then subdues the material body in order to control it and to obey the divine dictates. The battle begins. The Ruach combats the sins which cause man to fall and wants to take advantage of the opportunity which it has been granted for its salvation. It struggles from beginning to end, and when the white hairs shine on the temple and the body which before was strong and healthy begins to slowly stoop under the weight of the years and lose energy, then the Ruach feels strong, more developed, and experienced. How great and disgusting sin appears to that being. It leaves that sin and reaches the end of its journey. Now it only awaits the moment in which Abba Father will call it, for it has come to the conclusion that the divine law is just, that the will of Elohim is perfect, and that Abba lives in order to give life and salvation to his children. When the last day comes, it feels death in its flesh and has no pain. It departs silently and respectfully. It contemplates itself in the Ruach, and as if it had a mirror before it, sees itself as beautiful and radiant with light. Then the voice speaks to it and asks, "Child, where are you going?" And knowing who it is, approaches Abba Father, allows his light to invade its being, and speaks thus, "O Creator, O universal love, I come to you to rest and to give you the fulfillment of my mission." The account is settled. The Ruach is healthy, cleansed, and free of the chains of sin, and sees before it the reward which awaited it. Then it feels that it merges with the light of that Father, Abba, that its joy is greater, and it contemplates a mansion of peace, Shalom, a Kodesh, holy land, and a profound silence. Then it remains at rest in the bosom of Abraham. My peace be with you.